medevac plane that crashed and exploded in a heavily populated area of Philadelphia on Friday was carrying a child and 5 others on board, including the child's mother. That's according to Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, the company that operated the aircraft. There were no survivors. One other person was killed and more than a dozen were injured on the ground, Philadelphia Mayor Sherrill Parker said at a news conference on Saturday.
We can also confirm that at least one other person perished in this tragedy, and this individual was in a car. We can confirm that there are also a number of other victims who were injured in this incident, and they are being treated in area hospitals. And thus far, our count is that there are 19 injured victims. But again, this is not etched in stone. The investigation is ongoing.
Video aired on local TV stations showed the plane in a sharp dive before hitting the ground and exploding in a massive fireball. LiveATC.net captured audio of air traffic controllers at Northeast Philadelphia Airport trying to get in touch with the aircraft.
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056 Northeast Tower, how do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast Tower.
Digit 755, we have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out.
Officials said it was not clear what led to the crash. The weather was cold and rainy and with low visibility when the plane went down. Videos taken by witnesses and shared on social media showed body parts strewn about the streets and inside nearby homes. Residents said it has left them shaken.
The parking lot that we're standing in, I crossed through to get to my daughter's school. And to know that a plane crashed literally blocks away from my daughter's school, this is very devastating and very, very scary too.
The 6 people on board were Mexican, the country's president said in a post on X. Jet Rescue Air Ambulance is based in Mexico and licensed to operate in the U.S. A spokesperson for the company told CNN that the child was a girl on her way home with a final destination of Tijuana.
Russia launched a barrage of drones and missiles on Ukraine in the early hours of Saturday, damaging dozens of residential buildings across the country, Ukrainian officials said. The Interior Ministry said a Russian missile struck a residential building in the central city of Poltava. Several people died and more than a dozen were injured, including children. Firefighters and dozens of rescuers searched the rubble for survivors. Authorities said apartment buildings, a kindergarten and energy infrastructure in the city were damaged. On Friday, Russia launched missiles at Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa, seriously damaging historic buildings and injuring several people, local officials said. As the war approaches its 3-year mark this month, both sides are using drones to hit infrastructure and disrupt military supply lines. Russian forces are making small but steady gains in eastern Ukraine, edging closer to the strategic logistic hub of Pokrovsk.
Rock and dust samples collected from a deep space asteroid have been found to contain the building blocks of life. That's according to research that provides some of the best evidence yet that such space rocks may have seeded Earth with the raw ingredients for the emergence of living organisms.
You ready to see the results of the mission?
In 2020, NASA's OSIRIS-REx robotic spacecraft collected samples from asteroid Bennu, a rocky remnant of a larger celestial body that formed roughly 4.5 billion years ago. 3 years later, they were parachuted back to Earth. Here is Bill Nelson, NASA's administrator, during a press conference.
And this mission will help our scientists investigate planet formation for generations to come. And it's going to deepen our understanding of our solar system.
From these samples, two important findings emerged. One analysis, published in the journal Nature Astronomy, found that the samples contained a diverse mixture of organic compounds, and the other, published in the journal Nature, found that the samples contained minerals. Present in the samples were 14 of the 20 known amino acids, along with all 5 nucleobases, the genetic components of DNA and RNA. These organic compounds have all been previously identified in meteorites that landed on Earth, but scientists questioned whether they could have been contaminated by terrestrial sources. In contrast, the Bennu samples were collected directly from an asteroid and were kept pristine, ensuring their authenticity. In the early solar system, planets, including Earth, were pelted by asteroids. So while scientists did not find actual DNA or RNA in the samples, these findings shed a little more light on the role asteroids might have played to make life on Earth possible.
French troops lowered their flag from a base in Chad on Friday, marking the end of France's military presence in the Central African nation after nearly 70 years. The last French soldiers left the N'Djamena military base this week, ahead of the January 31st deadline set by Chadian President Mohamed Idriss Déby. Speaking at a ceremony on Friday, he hailed the departure as a new dawn for Chad. France's military presence in Chad dates back to the country's independence in 1960. It was initially aimed at training the newly formed Chadian military. The withdrawal from Chad is part of a broader reduction in France's military footprint across West Africa. French forces have also been ordered to leave Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, following coups in those countries. Senegal is negotiating the departure of French troops by the end of this year. Chad, along with Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, has also shown interest in strengthening ties with Russia, signing military deals, and inviting Russian troops to train their armed forces.